Wow, it's great to see all of you. And I am so glad you fixed the air conditioning. You might recall, last time I spoke from here, it was a little hotter. But I do want to thank Rabbi Knopf for the invitation to come here and speak tonight. And, when I was unable to attend the installation, I did watch on live stream. It was amazing. And after hearing so many well wishes from so many of you following my recent surgery, I reached out and we talked a little about, a way for me to come and honor you, as I couldn't that weekend, but also to be here with all of you. And you were just so delighted to set this up, so I appreciate it. Originally, we were talking about my coming tomorrow morning, but tomorrow is going to be an important day in our country. And the last thing I would want to do is to stand between anyone and where their conscience demands that they need to be. At times like this, we are reminded not to take anything for granted. Not our future as a democracy, not the future of Israel and the security of Jews in this country. Just to give an example, it's not Shabbat yet, although in Madison it may be, so I have to be careful. Oh, Red Sox 1-0 over the Yankees, what could I say? So you can check that off the, the bingo card. He mentioned the Red Sox and Yankees, okay. But when we were pulling into the parking lot, I get the Red Alert app from Israel that tells you whenever a missile is heading its way. And of course today is just, it's been horrific. Since I left, it's been horrific. There's no connection, but things have been rough. Things have been rough for Israel. It was rough before I left, of course, too. But today, the Red Alert just kept going and going. It basically mentioned every town in Israel that's under fire right now from Iranian missiles. And, Mara and I noticed my sister's settlement listed. They're never hit. They're sort of in no man's land. I mean, that's part of the problem, I guess, but they never are targets of terrorists because they're on the West Bank where a lot of people could get hurt that they may not want to, whatever. Seeing her settlement there hits home. Really hits home. And so we don't take anything for granted. There's an intensity to being alive right now. Think about it. Think about it. You wake up this morning, one of what might end up being one of the top 10 air disasters in world history happened yesterday in India. And it may not be one of the top 10 news stories today. It's just uncanny. And many of these existential news stories are still playing themselves out in the streets of Los Angeles, tomorrow all over the country, in the courts in California and elsewhere, in the skies over Iran and Israel, on the ground in Gaza, Ukraine, and Russia, Lebanon, and they're all interconnected, coming soon to a Home Depot near you. A lot has happened since I last stood here almost exactly a year ago this coming week. And much of it has helped me to grasp the urgency of the moment, of this moment, and indeed of each moment, and not to take anything for granted. So let me quickly catch you up on me. It's been an eventful year with surprises at every turn. We love our new house in Madison, and just now it's beginning to feel like a finished product. Though we've discovered as homeowners for the first time, there's always something else to do, and I can't always pick up the phone and call Steve Lander. The location is just spectacular. And I hope that you'll stop by when you're in the area, seriously. And when I feel like I'm getting a little too high and mighty, I take the short walk to the beach, or maybe the Hammonasset Trail, and get all humble again. My new friends are the ducks swimming in the stream in our backyard, the eagles flying majestically overhead, the osprey nursing her young in a nest on the rooftop down the street, and the woodpeckers who have fallen in love with our windowsills. I befriended the local rabbi, and he's been really hospitable. We had coffee together, and congregants from here actually stopped in at the coffee shop right as we were having coffee, which, was such a nice surprise. And after my surgery, he offered me an aliyah to do the special gomel, the sort of survivor's prayer at a Shabbat morning service. And people all came up to me afterwards, so I got to meet some of the people in the congregation, and one guy said, "Would you like to get involved in local politics?" And I said, "No, thank you." And the rabbi also, earlier on, had invited me to attend Yom Kippur, and I went there. I didn't realize you need a ticket. What's that all about? We're charging you guys to come? Really? And I looked around at the hundreds present, and it's a smaller congregation than ours, but it's growing, covers the whole shoreline, wonderful show. And knowing exactly no one, anonymity never felt so good. I could actually pray in an authentic way. That's so hard to do. It's not impossible, but so hard to do when you have to do so much else. It felt so strange. And then the guy sitting literally right behind me tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, "Rabbi." And I thought, God, my cover was blown. I looked around, it was Jeff Passeltiner, who used to be a member here 20, 30 years ago, a long time. But he now lives up in the area with Kathy, and, we've kept in touch over the years, and we hugged and schmoozed, and it felt great to know one person. On Rosh Hashanah, I returned to my childhood shul in Brookline, in Boston, for the first time on the holidays in 50 years. Last time was when I was with my father after he'd had a heart attack, and it was just a couple of months, literally, before he died. And I sat with him. And that was a mind-blowing experience, too. You can go home again, sort of. And the rabbi there gave me an aliyah on Rosh Hashanah. Just said, "Oh, come on, come on." It just such amazing hospitality, but I still wasn't sure if I knew anyone until people who looked much too old came up to me and said, "Your sister and I used to play in the bathroom," and whatever. I've been writing a lot. My Substack has been growing by leaps and bounds. I left here last June. I had 600 subscribers, paid and unpaid, and fine. I was pretty happy with it. Now I have 9,000 and over 36,000 followers, which on Substack is, a good chunk. And I've been networking with lots of folks in independent media, which is, by the way, saving our country right now. You should all support the voices that have migrated over to Substack. Incredible journalists like Jim Acosta, Jennifer Rubin, and just today, actually, Terry Moran of ABC, who was fired in an act of corporate cowardice. The conversations that take place on these sites and Substack are astoundingly civil and supportive, and surprisingly not one-sided. I have a whole new congregation that I've sort of cultivated there, which includes a lot of you, and it's been great. The need for community right now is so great, in person and online. It has never been greater, and I commend you all for staying involved here, how important that is. This week, got a little incentive for you to subscribe. This week I published an audiobook of Benchmarks, the book that I released back in 2019. And it's professionally done. It was beautifully engineered by our member, Rob Friedman. I'm so grateful to Rob. And it is my thank you gift to subscribers, to paid subscribers, but you got to subscribe for free first, so, give it a try. And then you get the audiobook. I've also continued my freelance writing for a religion news service, some other freelance work, and a new ethicist column for My Jewish Learning. So that's been my year. And oh yeah, the prostate. I've spent most of my adult life assisting those struggling with cancer and other diseases. But becoming a survivor myself has been quite a jolt and a constant reminder to appreciate everything in life. My diagnosis as an aggressive stage 3B prostate cancer wasn't even the first major health-related jolt that we received since I last spoke with you up here. You might recall that my dog Casey struggled with ACL surgeries on both hind legs before we left. Well, when we got home after my final service a year ago next week, I never made it, by the way, to the dessert table back there, and I heard they were great. Are there any left? Any left over? No? Probably there are. And bagels from 1992. I know where they're hidden. We got back home, and Casey had had accidents all over the place, and 2 weeks later, we got the devastating news that he had an incurable, aggressive lymphoma in the stomach. We brought him to Cornell Veterinary Hospital here in Stamford, and the doctor told us he had about 2 months. But with an intensive regimen of chemo, we might be able to squeeze a few more months of quality life. We were so shocked, and he was so young. He was just 6. We weren't ready to give up on him. We just moved. So much going on. So we went for it. Intensive treatments, week after week, month after month. He lost 2/3 of his body weight, and because poodles have human hair, most of his hair, which for a poodle can be pretty gruesome. But a few months later, we noticed that not only was he holding up well under treatment, but he was beginning to join in with Cassidy and Kobe, the one who barks, when they played. And he didn't just run, he skipped. And his fur began to grow back as puppy fur, the softer kind of fur. And jet black, his sister, same age, of course, is going gray at age 6. That starts to happen. But not Casey with his new puppy fur, black as anything. The picture of doggy and gray. Judy Aronin would have laughed if she were here, so just saying. When we brought him to Cornell, he would light up the waiting room, befriending the ailing dogs and their owners. Casey became a service dog for the other dogs. I knew one of my kids would become a rabbi. I just didn't know he'd have 4 legs. And when they brought him to the back room where they did all the poking and prodding, they told me that he would break dance. Jennifer Skiff, author of The Divinity of Dogs, wrote, "Dogs, for a reason that can only be described as divine, have the ability to let go of the past and live each day joyously. It is something the rest of us strive for." No dog we've ever had has embraced life more than Casey. His cancer is still officially incurable, but after another clean ultrasound just a week ago, Casey now will, in a few days, pass 1 year since his diagnosis, and the doctor can't explain it. She told us it's just not in the literature. For cats, it sometimes happens that this cancer, they can live but not dogs. She said, and I quote, "Casey should have been dead months ago." She thought he'd be dead by now, and he's not. So when my prostate tests kept getting more and more foreboding last winter, I was prepared. I was already living my life on Casey time, borrowed time, but in a good sense. Borrowed time is precious time. Take nothing for granted time. Nothing. Not walking, not breathing, not peeing, especially not peeing. We don't own time. We don't hoard time. We don't possess time. It's on loan to us. Borrowed time. Israel is on borrowed time. So is America. So is democracy. So is the rule of law. The time we've had with them all is precious because we know that the time we have left may be limited. It may be quite limited. This is the oldest living democracy. The U.S. is the oldest living democracy in the world. We've already passed the sell-by date. We can take nothing for granted. Nothing lasts forever. This week's portion of B'halotcha chronicles, I was going to get to the portion, you can check that off too. The Israelites' adventures in the wilderness with a running theme that carries through with the rest of the book, indeed through the rest of Jewish history. Basically, this is what happens. They came, they kvetched, they conquered. Or as Julius Caesar famously put it in Latin, vini, vidi, kvetchi. For every step forward, and there were many, there were 2 kvetches backward, and a total disregard for how precious their newfound freedom was. In fact, most of the kvetches had to do with a longing for imagined bygone days in the shackles of Egyptian slavery. They were slaves, but man, the watermelons in Egypt were delicious. It actually mentions watermelons. Seriously, Numbers 11:5. It's almost uncanny. It's an anticipation of America's later slide into a nostalgic stupor in selective memory. It's the song of the South. We forget the pain. We ban the trauma from our minds and our libraries. We strum and whittle in the porches of our plantations, and frankly, Miriam, I don't give a damn. But nostalgia isn't the only culprit at play here in the book of Numbers. There's also envy. In describing the manna, the Torah makes manna seem like the tastiest thing this side of Entenmann's crumb donuts, the glazed ones. Yet even that was not good enough for the Israelites. Rabbi Jonathan Eibeshutz, a 17th century sage from Krakow, notes that the Torah is trying to make a statement about human nature. People will not be satisfied even with a daily dozen of Entenmann's crumb donuts if their neighbors are enjoying the same thing. In order for people to feel fulfilled, they have to have more than their neighbors. It's sort of the opposite of dayenu. It's never enough unless I have more than the guy next door. We should be living a life of dayenu. We should be living on Casey time, but we are never satisfied. The Great Gatsby was published 100 years ago this past April. This great American novel was barely noticed while its author was alive. But this past year, there were actually 2 musicals on Broadway produced for this book. It resonates now more than ever because as we hold up a mirror to who we are as Americans, to our obsessions with class and race and our possessions, as one major character shouts, "Things, I want lots of things." Today, a movie just came out, The Materialists. This portion teaches us that the so-called American dream is not that different from the Jewish dream, and it's not about having more, being better, or reinventing ourselves inauthentically. Those dreams are doomed to go up in flames and to be beaten back by relentless tides of disappointment. The only enduring dream is one where people come together in communities that care about one another, where individuals take nothing for granted. Sanctity is discovered in the everyday acts of eating and working and loving. Salvation is attained through commitment to something larger than ourselves and dedicating every moment toward that end. We cannot take any of this for granted. We've been given so many gifts. None of them are coming to us. We have to hold and cherish them. People fought for the rights we have as Americans. So many have died defending our democracy here and forging the Jewish democratic state that we cherish so much. We've been gifted so many miracles, large and small, divinely inspired and man-made, serendipitous and earned, all of them gifts. Casey got a day of just feeling good, and he started to break dance, and now he wants to be a rabbi. But there are people who want to bury their heads in Love Island or wherever the White Lotus is being filmed and pretend nothing is being risked, nothing is being lost. And there are people who want to take it all away because they want things, lots of things, because they want power, because they are mean-spirited and blasphemous, worshiping the false idol that they are staring at in the mirror. They don't see the miracle of every breath, every step. They know less about being truly alive than my little dog, Casey. Tomorrow will be a very important day in the history of this country. It may be Shabbat for Jews, but for America, it's Yom Kippur. Tanks will be rolling past our most sacred places. The Lincoln Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, the African American and Holocaust museums, Korean War Memorial too, and in view of the Kennedy Center, which has been desecrated like Antiochus did with the temple, tanks will trample on Constitution Avenue, making our most sacred mile like a Stalinist nightmare tomorrow. And all across this country, millions of ordinary Americans will be standing up to the bullies and turning back the tanks. We can take nothing for granted. We must appreciate every gift that we have, and we need to do everything in our power to preserve those gifts. I don't know if my cancer is gone. The odds suggest it'll likely return, but Casey has helped me to understand how to live with it, how to live on borrowed time. B'halotcha ends with the most famous healing prayer in the Torah. Moses, about to lose his beloved sister, cries out, El na, rafana la, please God, please heal her. And Moses realized how much he loved Miriam, how much he cherishes life, his and hers, and he exclaims, frankly, Miriam, I do give a damn. We need to say those healing words, El na rafana la. Please God, heal America, heal Israel, heal the world, heal democracy. Please God, we pray for Jewish security, for a secure Israel at peace with her neighbors and with herself. And we pray for peace for our world, life and good health for all. Shabbat Shalom.